Welcome to Cowgirl Talk, where we empower you to live authentically through real food, real talk, and real life. Sisters brought together by our love of cows. We're your host, Emily, a dairy lover and personal trainer living in Florida.
And Becca, a corporate cowgirl holding down the family fort in Pennsylvania. Let's go, cowgirls!
Hello, and welcome back to Cowgirl Talk. For today's episode, as this will be coming out on April 22nd, which is Earth Day, we wanted to talk about all things Earth Day, sustainability, and how that intertwines into so much of what agriculture is. Agriculture, farmers, ranchers, they were like the OG sustainable practice people, we like to say sometimes, and there's a lot of other people and industries that focus on it as well, but it is just such a huge integral part of what agriculture is. And we also want to tie in some personal habits and some personal practices that you can potentially implement as well to focus on being more sustainable, because we're hopefully going to be on this earth for a really long time. So we all want to make sure we're doing our part to take care of it.
I love that. This is a big month for us, for people who work in agriculture, because it's a time to shine a light on, okay, this is our table stakes. This is our norm. But like, this is just something we inherently do because we believe in leaving what we found better, like leaving something better than what we found it. So I'm really excited to dig into this. I think you and I will get really jazzed up about it, similar to how we got jazzed up during our National Ag Day talk or any of our food chats, because this is like where we really shine. But before we get into that, let's dig into our highs and lows. And I think ours will sound a little bit similar.
Yeah, we're probably going to have some
this week, as we're kind of we're busy gals, so we're recording this a little bit early. So we're going to, again, anticipate some highs and lows that we're going to have on April 22nd.
Yeah,
so Em, you go first.
We have some anticipated ones for what's upcoming this week, because this week is Becca's Bachelorette. Whoop, whoop. So we're going to be together. And so that is why we're also recording this just a little bit earlier in the week. But I do have a high that actually already happened. And I had myself a little date day yesterday, and I went to Barnes & Noble, which just opened up near us. There was already a Books A Million, but we finally got a Barnes & Noble, and it was immaculate. It was beautiful. It was so much fun. And it's also...
It did look really nice.
Yes.
Like, you could tell it was a fresh new one compared to the one we have here in Altoona.
Yeah.
It was a very fancy schmancy looking Barnes & Noble.
I know, but I also love that one in Altoona with the nostalgia. And even if it is a little bit older, you just walk into it, you're like, I feel like a kid again. But it's also a little overwhelming, just reminder of how many books there are and how many things there are to read. It's like a good thing, but I was like, holy shit, I need to give myself some time to just walk around so I don't go off the wall and buying just a million cajillion things. But that Barnes & Noble is also right beside a Trader Joe's. I was like, oh, they're smart with this one. That's perfect. Just these two basic girl things that are so much fun. And so I went to Trader Joe's for the first time. Honestly, I think over a year. I think almost even 2 years since I've gone last. I only live 15 minutes from a Trader Joe's. Sometimes it feels so small and gets really overwhelming because there's so many people there all the time. Yeah. I just don't go that often. But I went, and I also feel like I controlled myself pretty well. But I also got some really fun things, and it was just a blast.
Yeah. Okay, well, so I personally thought you were missing a few things.
Oh.
However, what were your favorite things? Or do you have like staples every time you go to Trader Joe's that you buy?
Well, that's the thing with Trader Joe's, is that they do have so many fun items, like freezer items or pre-cooked items, whatever it may be. And sometimes I'll just go and get them just because it's Trader Joe's, because it's a cool item. And so when I went in this time, I'm like, okay, just try to calm myself on buying all these cool freezer items just because they have them. Because just because it's from Trader Joe's doesn't really mean it's that much healthier or anything like that, right? I think, Publix or something would probably have some similar items to what I would buy just because it has a Trader Joe mark on it. But some of the things that I do like getting are all the fancy raviolis and all the different flavors of pasta. So I got a couple different ravioli flavors. I got the reduced guilt mac and cheese. That stuff is so good. That's one of the freezer items. Have you had that before?
No,
Oh,
I've only ever had their butternut squash mac and
also
cheese, and it
delicious. Oh,
was.
I like that one.
I like it, but it's a little heavy on the
Yeah,
time.
I don't think Ruben doesn't
Like,
like it for that
you
reason.
really gotta love that specific herb.
Well, it's a very fall dish, but yeah, I got the mac and cheese, and I didn't, and maybe I just wasn't looking hard enough because I was trying to contain myself, but I didn't find the cauliflower gnocchi, but I got the sweet potato one with like the brown butter sage.
Oh,
That stuff's
that
delicious.
is like a staple.
Yes.
I love that. So, what I love about Trader Joe's is that they do have such a good freezer section.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not like, I'm buying these things to try and they won't go bad,
Yes.
right? So, I don't go to their fresh aisle a lot because I'm like, I'm buying things on hype. So, I
Yes.
need things that will need to be able to last
True.
through when I like lose the hype and then randomly find it again in my freezer and get excited.
Yeah.
So, things I always get there, that brown butter and sage sweet
So
potato
good.
gnocchi, their Thai sweet chili sauce,
Oh.
and their ginger sauce. So good if you want to, like, we always have them on hand because they last
Yeah.
forever. The shelf life, and they're really good if you do like a stir fry or a mix of rice and veggies and a meat.
Mm.
So next time, their frozen soup dumplings are really good,
Yeah, you did text me that,
and
and I was like, meh.
they're so good, and they come in like a cute little tray of 6, and their
Oh,
macros are really
yeah.
good for like a little girl lunch, or a snack, to be honest.
We eat around here.
And their cookie butter,
Yes, the crunchy cookie butter is insane. I already have some still, so.
so good. And then they have, I don't know if they always have it. I bought like 2 or 3 of these because I don't go very often.
Mm-hmm.
It's an hour away from me. But they have kind of a dupe of the Sol de Janeiro,
Oh, yeah.
like bum bum cream, because I can't use the bum bum cream because it has almond and pistachio oil in it. And I was like,
Oh, darn it.
this is pretty sweet. Yeah. So next time.
Love that. Oh, and I have to mention, well, I could talk about my whole grocery list, but 2 other things I did get. The stir-fried cauliflower rice. It's frozen, really easy to
That's
use.
pretty good.
Yeah. And then again, like you said,
It's
frozen
pretty
items
good.
are great, minimize food waste. And
Mm-hmm.
one other thing I got that I'll mention, because you mentioned the one sauce. I saw it all over TikTok and social media. It and people probably still use it, but it had a big moment. It's that chili onion crunch. It's a
Yeah.
spread or something. I got 2 of them.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I like it, but I was like, I want this, and so I
Yeah.
got 2.
You'll have to let me know because I bought that once after some hype on Instagram, and then I realized there's almonds in it. That's what gives
Oh,
it the crunch. And I'm like,
oh,
mother effer. And I'm pretty sure it's the same one.
oh, that's a bummer. Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to use it on yet, but people use it in kind of a veggie salad thing when it was really popular,
Yeah.
and so
Mm-hmm.
I saw it.
Or on top of like a stir fry.
Yeah, I was like, there's so many opportunities
Yeah.
with
People
this.
love it.
Eek. Yeah.
Yes. The last thing, and then we can move on to your low,
Yeah, because I could
is
keep
that
talking
during
about
the
it.
fall, I liked the butternut squash lasagna. It was frozen, way better than the mac and cheese. That lasagna was so good.
They do.
It was really
They go all
good.
out for the seasonal stuff too, which is I literally think the last time I went to Trader Joe's was probably 2 falls ago to load up on the seasonal items.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah, this
anyways,
isn't a Trader Joe's
what's your low?
podcast. I go one time and then I'm like, oh my God, I love it. Let's talk about it. But yeah, first time in 2 years. But aside from that, yeah, I think our anticipated high, and I know it's going to be a high, is going on your bachelorette trip. And we're going to be in Clearwater Beach. And I think it's just going to be,
Yes.
it is going to be so beautiful. The West Coast beaches are clear water, white sand, and it's just beautiful weather right now in Florida.
Yep. But with that, we said we both had the same low. So I'll start with my low because it's the same as Emily's, that we're going to be whooped.
Yeah.
So tired. It's going to be a rough week after the Bachelorette because that's when Joe's going on his bachelor trip
Okay.
is the next week. So
You
we
alternate.
didn't have to like board our
That makes
dog
sense.
because it's expensive. And so, yeah. And then that week that Joe's gone, I have 2 work trips.
Oh, wow.
One, I have to board her, and she also has a grooming appointment. I'm like, okay, why did we make the most
why did you
difficult
do
week
that?
to single parent our child?
Well, yeah, why'd you book it?
Bachelor week. It's how it all worked out. So that'll be a tired week. But my high is obviously the Bachelorette. I have started packing, did all the laundry to have everything I need ready. Um, Everything that I've bought except for one thing has come in. This really cute pair of sneakers that I wanted,
Oh,
like a white pair of sneakers. I'm gonna need to go on a freezing spend
I was
after
gonna
this
say,
wedding.
did you already have white sneakers?
Not like
Not
this.
like this
They're
specifically.
really cute Dolce Vita
Oh,
pair with
they
like
do.
they're black with this silver on. It's kind of like a golden goose European looking
Dupe.
vibe, but they're not. Yeah,
Not
but they're
stupid
not dirty, so they're not
expensive.
really a dupe. Yeah, they're more of the quiet luxury look or
Yeah,
whatever that
yeah.
is. Um, but I'm just so excited that we're able to go to Florida. And, I had originally thought we'd do a low key bachelorette
Mm-hmm.
here, rent a cabin. And then I thought, you know what? No, all of my friends are older now. We have money. Sure, some of us have kids, but like we can afford to just take this nice vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And then two of you who already have to travel, who live in Florida, it's like, okay, this gives you guys a break from having to fly.
Appreciate it.
So it's just nice that we can have a nice weekend. And my friends are texting me, oh my God, I can't wait to be on a beach. I need a break.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just ready to have this like ABBA Mediterranean inspired weekend of like Girls Gone Mild with maybe one wild night on
Girls Gone
Friday.
Mild.
Because then Saturday we'll need the whole day to
Yep.
recover. But it's just, I'm excited to just be on a beach with my girls and to dance
Yeah, it's hard to get.
and drink some tequila sodas
Yeah.
and espresso martinis
Lots of espresso
and maybe a
martinis.
little rosé.
Well,
Those are the three things.
we'll see what else gets intermingled in there. But yeah, it's fun to get everyone together in that capacity because as adults, I think we've talked about it before, but it's just really hard to get a group of people together like that because everyone's just so busy and there's so
Yeah.
many moving parts all the time. So when you finally have that opportunity to just hang out, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so
Mm-hmm.
fun. We have really awesome ladies in our lives.
Yeah. And so I'm excited to see what you and Aaron have planned. I mean, I
Mm.
truly, this, I mean, it's,
No, I know. Becca's an
you know what I mean.
epic planner, so when she says it, I'm like, oh gosh,
I'm,
okay.
I'm not epic. I'm just like obnoxiously organized. So for both this and the bridal shower, I mean, I'm actually very impressed with myself that I have not interfered at all.
Yeah, you've tried.
Every once in a while, I have said, here are things I am interested
And
in.
we have asked your
And
opinion
that's
on
really it.
certain food spots, like, hey, which,
Yeah.
either or.
But I mean, I really feel like I've just been like, go forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun, and I guess we have to add you into the group chat soon, probably.
Okay, yeah, at this point, I would like to be
Okay,
added.
we can add
We're
you
like
in.
3 days
It's been
out.
pretty chill in there, but we can add you in.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm excited for it, and that's why we're doing this early. So, if you're ready, I'm ready to dig into some Earth Day.
Yeah, we're going to be experiencing the earth and the beach and all that goodies this upcoming weekend. So let's talk
In
about.
my head, I was like, ooh, maybe that's a transition. We're going to see some beautiful part of the Earth. This
Yeah, the
weekend.
beach,
Let's
one of
talk
the
about
best
Earth Day.
parts. So yeah, why do we take care of the
yes.
earth? What is Earth Day? All of the things.
Yes. So similar to how we talked about National Ag Day, I was like, oh, I really like how it gave people some context before we dug into some of our personal takes. And I realized I didn't know like how Earth Day got started.
Same.
And so Emmy and I talked about this, and I couldn't find it on the internet fast enough this morning. Did Earth Day or Earth Month come 1st? So April on social media and on the internet is recognized as Earth Month, but it does not have a formal organization behind it that I could see. That could be wrong. If it is, let me know. But Earth Day is an actual event. So I thought this was a good definition of what it is. So the first Earth Day in 1970 mobilized millions of Americans from all walks of life, giving birth to a broad new movement to protect the planet. On April 22nd, 1970, 20 million Americans, 10% of our U.S. population at that time, took to the streets, college campuses, and hundreds of cities to protest environmental ignorance and demand a new way forward. The first Earth Day is credited with launching the modern environmental movement, and it is now recognized as the planet's largest civic event each year. So it was really it's something that started out as a movement and a protest, and now it is a nonprofit organization.
Okay.
It's organized by earthday.org, which used to be called Earth Day Network, and it's observed in 192 countries. So its roots were here in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
and it has now spread like
Yeah.
wildfire across our planet.
Well,
So that's pretty
that
cool.
is, and I didn't realize where the date came from. So if it's April 22nd,
Yeah.
that makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense that they've stuck with it and that's where it came from. So that is pretty interesting. And I feel like that
Yeah.
time of America, there were a lot of different movements and a lot of people getting together for different,
Yeah.
causes in big,
Yeah.
big groups like that. So it's really, really interesting.
Yeah. The 70s were a big time for
A lot.
peace and love and
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff.
Lots of things going on.
Um, but I think it's a good example of how when people, unite for a cause and have proof of like, okay, here are things that we could do better.
Hmm.
Um, and one of the things that this nonprofit does is they probably do a lot of lobbying,
Yeah,
right? Of
I'm
like
sure.
policies and practices related to sustainability and better earth practices, etc.
Hmm.
But they have a lot of so they create a lot of resources
Oh.
for people to use, and educational materials on topics that matter to them. And at the core of a lot of it, especially now, is sustainability. And so we wanted to like really hone in on that word sustainability. And again, I was like, okay, similar to processed, whenever we talked about processed
Yeah.
foods, this is a word that has just lost a lot of meaning,
Hmm.
in my opinion, because people have just, they throw it out without properly using it, which I get really mad about because it is something that is so critical and so important in our industry that when people just go, as we say, willy-nilly with it,
Yep.
it it takes away its impact and it takes away from its value. However,
However, I do.
we're going to talk about it in regards to food production. But what I thought was interesting, like, okay, what is the dictionary definition of this?
Yeah.
Just like
Give us a baseline.
plain, no frills. And the baseline is the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level.
Yeah, that makes
So,
sense. Very simple.
yeah, and if you think about it, you could talk about how do we sustain this lifestyle?
Hmm.
What is a sustainable business model? So this word can be used in a million ways, but it's not always so simple. And whenever you search sustainability definition, most of what comes up is related to environmental
Hmm.
practices, food production, etc., because that's what's hot.
Yeah.
Um, and so, one that I found that I thought I really liked, so this is a personal preference of definition. Let's just make that clear here. But I really feel like this statement will help ground us for this
Yeah.
conversation. And it goes, sustainability is our society's ability to exist and develop without depleting all of the natural resources needed to live in the future. Sustainable development supports this long term goal with the implementation of systems, frameworks, and support from global, national, and local entities. So, really, it's talking about how we as a unit, aka the
Yep.
citizens of Mother Earth, can come together to realize yes, we will be taking from Mother Earth to live, especially with like how modern our lifestyle is, and it'll just continue becoming more modern and crazy and all the things. So,
Hmm.
how can we at least maintain or give back to the soil, to the water, to the animals, to the plants, etc.? So, I'm excited to talk about it in that way.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really simple way of addressing like what does sustainability mean to us?
No, I like that a lot because, yeah, regardless of how you view certain practices or different sectors and such, the population is going to continue growing. And that means we're going to have to continue to find more places for
Yeah.
everyone to go and more resources to feed, to clothe these people. And we have to do all of
Yep.
that while still making sure that we're not just destroying the earth, which I'm sure some people will be like, we
Yeah.
already are. But
Yeah.
it's a
I
fine
mean,
line.
the very existence of human beings is taking away from the
Yeah.
earth. Like us to like this definition is allowing us to be realistic
Mm-hmm.
about like to live. Yes, we need to be a neighbor and a good friend to our planet.
Yeah.
But we can't all be homesteaders, or we can't all. It's just times are going to continue to change. So how can we manage that change in a way that doesn't cause our earth to implode?
Yeah, and cause it at, because it does start with your own personal practices, but also continue to hold larger organizations and such accountable, because that is where
Mm-hmm.
such a huge difference is made.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, like you said, I love how people want to get back to simpler times and, maybe grow their own food and do things like that, but that is not realistic or possible for many, many people. And that's not a
Yeah.
feasible way to feed billions, 9 billion people
Yeah.
soon.
We are so far gone. And
Hmm.
a lot of it sometimes is like when people have the ability to do those things, like I hope someday to have my own land
Hmm.
and be able to grow my own food and have that option should shit go
Yeah.
sideways, or just to like feel more connected to
Yeah.
animals in nature. Not that is a luxury.
Yes.
The luxury that I can even like realistically start to think and plan to have that, and to have grown up in agriculture to truly understand like the real meaning of all of this and what it takes to make it happen is a total luxury.
Yeah, and I've seen more people on social media talk about that, which I really really like, because yeah, not everyone can dedicate their
No.
entire time, or maybe like if it's a family, if one of the parents, that's a full-time job, and not everyone can do that,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's they don't have the resources, the money, the time. And so yeah, to put it on everyone of like, you need to grow your own food and do this and that. Yeah, it's coming from a very often a privileged place, but I can understand why people
Yeah.
want to do it. But yeah, it may not just be feasible for everyone, which is why it's not a
Yeah.
solution for
Yeah.
feeding a growing population.
Yeah. So now that we have that grounding and we got off our soapbox of luxury, Emmy, tell me what we want to talk about. We're just to celebrate Earth Day. Let's talk about some fun, cool facts that
Mm-hmm.
people might not know about agriculture. And I know that yours are going to be pretty dairy focused,
Yes.
so I called all my beef and pig friends to try to get some non-cow
Good.
ones. So I'm curious, let's hear some of your favorite practices
Yeah.
related to food production.
Yeah, because I am more, well, I grew up in dairy, right? So that's more of where my expertise lies. And I get really excited about dairy again, because that's what I'm involved with. But we know that food waste in general is something that many people talk about in terms of not being sustainable, of causing problems, whether that's with people or with animals. I know a lot of people like to say, oh, animals, they're using the food that we could be feeding to humans or whatnot. But the thing with cows is, and I'm talking specifically dairy cows here, is that they are amazing upcyclers. The really cool thing about the rations, the feed that we give to dairy cows, is that it is formulated specifically for them, their health, their goals, what the dairy is trying to accomplish, but also what is available in their area. And so, very often, and on most dairies, in some capacity, they are utilizing like what would have been food waste, what would have been thrown away, and finding a way to feed that to cows. And then those cows get to upcycle these food products into producing a really nutritious product, which is milk. And so it's this whole life cycle of reducing food waste, reducing food being thrown away, and being fed to a cow, being put into that ration. And a few examples would be distiller's grain, there's citrus pulps. I even know at some dairies they use like candy meal, which is, like leftover candy and such from different production. And then also bakery waste. I've seen dairies where there's little loaves of bread and being fed and such. And so it's really finding ways to make sure that, hey, what can we do to minimize waste, feed this to the cows, and they can turn into something really really awesome. And so that's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Yeah, and another big thing on related to food is that a lot of so cows are
Yep.
ruminants, which means they have four stomachs, or some people say one stomach with four compartments. Either way, it's four.
Yep.
And they work a lot differently than the way a monogastric would, or someone with one stomach. And so what they're able to eat is oftentimes forages or grains or things that are grown on land that really is not well suited to grow something that we humans could
Mm-hmm.
eat. And so these cows are able to take, in addition to that waste, they're able to take these forages that we can't consume as humans, and again upcycle it into milk and meat, like you said. And then if we go back to our National Ag Day episode again, all of the things that cows are used in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So beyond even the milk and the meat that they provide us, um, everyday household items. So it is just crazy how efficient they are at taking things that we cannot consume or leverage or use in any way, um, and turn it into food, like you're saying.
Cows are
And for a while,
superheroes.
they're like, yeah, they're a relatively like constant source of milk. It's not just a one time thing with
Mm-hmm.
dairy animals. I mean, they're making milk for several years. So I find that very interesting.
Yeah, they're producing product in so many different ways for so many different people. I don't know what the stat would be, and if there even is a stat, but like how many people one cow could feed or how many people it could benefit. I don't know if there's a stat out there for it, but I
Oh,
would be so intrigued to see
I don't know.
because it would be a lot of people, again, with the milk it produces and what products that can turn into, but then also once a cow's life cycle is done, whether it's turned into
Yeah.
beef or like different byproducts like skincare, whatever it is. There's endless options for dairy cows to be
Yeah.
utilized.
Look it up and follow up with us, Em.
Yeah, I shall. But other than that, another one on dairies that I love so much is how dairies reuse water. And this probably looks a little bit different everywhere, but I know in the South it's really hot, right? And so we gotta keep our cows cool. Cows like to be kept at a little bit of a cooler temperature where they feel most comfortable, where they're going to be their healthiest, produce more milk. And so we want to keep these cows cool. And so a lot of the dairies in the South, that means we're using misters, sprinklers, using a lot of water to try to keep these cows cooled off. And so, with that, to make sure that, okay, we're not just willy nilly using all this water, even if it's maybe more available in your area, it's being recycled and reused in many different areas of the dairy. So, potentially water that's coming out of a mister or a sprinkler, it's then going to be used to flush the barn and clean that barn, and then potentially that water is going to be something that then goes out into watering the fields. And there are so many other different ways that I know it's utilized in different dairies, but I don't want to mess it up and people will be like, no, that is so wrong. But I know those are a couple of different ways that it's recycled in multiple ways to make sure that they are really continuously using like the life cycle of water too.
Yeah. Um, whenever you wrote this, my mind immediately went to Milking Our Dairy, or
Yes.
the Rux
Yeah.
family, who in Florida are really good. And I think they also work with Southeast Milk,
Yep.
or
Yeah.
yeah, that's another really good Instagram account of how they talk about managing water. And, they're using a gallon up to 4 times,
Yep.
right? So and if you think about the way they're producing this, and again, the way we like to look at it is, okay, this water is recycled that many times. And then eventually, for your input, this is what we're getting, this much milk, this much, So I think that's such a smart use of our resources that comes out of a need for efficiency and cost savings
Mm-hmm.
for a farm, but also, doubles as a really, really amazing sustainable practice.
Yeah. And along with the water, very often there may be, if there's sand in there, if that's the bedding that dairies use, or if there's manure because cows poop and go to the bathroom, that is also then it's like separated and utilized in different ways too. So again, there is not very often things left behind that aren't being reused in some
Yep.
capacity to minimize waste but benefit the dairy. And so one of the other facts I put in here, and it just builds off of these, is just the fact that cows and many animals in animal agriculture and farmers practices were using less resources, less land, less food to produce more milk. And again, you said it at the beginning, farmers and ranchers, we were doing these things before it was trendy, before like sustainability
Yeah.
and all of that was really a huge push, as it should be. But this was something that farmers were already focusing on because, again, they are working the land. And if they don't have healthy land, then that's not really going to benefit their operation, right? So, all around, dairy
Yeah.
farmers are finding ways to continuously take care of their farm, the animals, the land that they're working on to make sure it's going to be around for a really long time in a healthy way and that it can be passed down. So, I just think it's so cool how many different ways that farmers are using technology and collaboration to reuse and reduce.
Yeah. And they a lot of times people will say, "Oh, they're the original stewards
Yeah.
of the land." And so now farmers and food companies are in a position where sustainability has become a brand differentiation
Yeah.
point. So it's now a marketing term. It's now a way to differentiate yourself in a grocery store about how, or even like in the space of online shopping, how your brand is better than others.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever farmers have been doing it for like
Years,
the for
forever.
like literally the history of forever, all of time, it's like, okay, this is what has been necessary to run a business like this. In order to produce food, um, we've always had to have immense respect for our land and for our animals. Like, duh.
Yeah.
So it's funny how culture has shifted into, okay, this is no longer table stakes. This is now frills on
Mm-hmm.
packaging or frills on food that make people feel better about what they're purchasing.
Yeah.
So, on one hand, it's good that people consider this more, but it's also frustrating because it's like, now you're expecting us to change because we haven't touted it a lot,
Yeah.
because it's just been something we do. It's been a just natural part of, or an organic part of how we operate. And it's like, okay, well, now because it's not something we've touted, you assume we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And so that's frustrating. But I mean, like you're saying, if you just compare even now to 20 years ago, and I keep
Well, we
forgetting
read
this
that
stat. We've
stat
talked
and
about it
yeah, Ag
before.
Day, just
Yeah, it's like,
it was like 60% less resources or something crazy like that from I think
yeah,
40 years ago, right? To now to produce
yeah.
milk.
And if you think about how the number of cows has reduced drastically, but the pounds of milk have increased, it's like, okay, there we
Well,
go.
pretty
And
cool.
that's through technology, genetics, better feeding techniques, etc. So I love that. And I think you were starting to hit on one that I wanted to share.
Mm.
And so I reached out to two of my gal pals from my days at Cargill,
Mm-hmm.
Molly and Meg, who are more on the beef and swine side of
Mm-hmm.
things. Um, and one that Molly shared with me that I thought was super interesting, and this is sourced from the World Wildlife Fund. I was like, I need a source for this
I'm
one
not
because
making this up.
this is an astonishing fact. And it's 30% of what's fed to livestock around the world today is either waste from food supply chains or byproducts from growing and processing food.
Wow.
So that's like a huge part of their diets that are
Yeah.
leveraging, Emily, what you were starting to get at. So one that's very popular, like you were saying, is bakery waste, which we know for sure is fed to dairy and pigs.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you talk about the candy waste, or if you ever hear something that's a pulp, that's a byproduct from
Yep.
making something else. So it's really cool that, again, these animals can help us control our own waste of our own food, because we are incredibly
Oh my
wasteful.
gosh,
Like,
so much.
humans are so wasteful, and it's hard not to be, right? That's not like an accusation, it's just a fact.
Yeah.
So I thought that 30% was a crazy number.
That's awesome.
But one that you didn't touch on, what that I wanted to talk about, is something that I have learned in my new job, um, working for a processing company, is the importance of inviting your community into your
Mm.
sustainability efforts. So how can you present opportunities to your local communities outside of your farm, outside of whatever agricultural business you have, into like make them feel included or a part of
Yeah.
helping you improve sustainability or give back to the planet. And one way is through the Alliance for the Chesapeake Bay.
Mm.
So, there's a lot of agriculture
Yep.
that runs along the Chesapeake Bay watershed, and that's a critical body of water to maintain and keep clean and keep healthy. So what the Alliance for the Chesapeake Bay does in the Mid-Atlantic region is one of the things they do is facilitate tree plantings along smaller bodies of water. And so what that is you're planting trees in a specific variety to the area.
Yep.
I'm a dairy
Yeah,
girl,
you're not like
not a
bringing in
tree
an
girl.
invasive species to grow.
Um, but it's like, okay, what are trees that are complementary to what is already there to support the wildlife? And also, it's called a riparian buffer, which helps prevent runoff from getting to the water. So
Mm.
they, one recently that I didn't get to be an actual part of it, but I got to learn about it was this presents an opportunity for farms to put these trees on their land. And it's like, okay, this is great. This
Yeah.
is giving, supporting a natural ecosystem and also helping me like a natural way to manage my runoff that
Mm-hmm.
might come from my fields, even though there are practices already in place to prevent that. This is, extra security blanket. It gives big companies a way to offset their emissions
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever they might have, um, that they wouldn't have any other way to do. So
Yeah.
let's take, for example, Google recently did a tree planting, and like Google's just building this big old building and technology
Yeah.
and whatever they build, there isn't like a natural way for them to give back to the planet like a farm would.
Yeah.
So they can come to these tree plantings to then say, okay, this is what I'm taking away with my business,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no way for me to give back at this business location, but here's how I'm offsetting it over here by funding X amount of trees to be planted in critical areas in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. So that is a way where you can bring in your community
Mm-hmm.
to feel a part of it, and you give these other businesses opportunities where it's not as easy for them to give back to the land, whereas their business requires them to take a lot more. So I thought the community aspect of sustainability was really interesting.
Agreed, because it is so important for people to feel involved. And even like we talked about it in last episode with Michelle, many people, again, don't have the opportunity to understand where their food is coming from or just agriculture in general. There's not a lot of opportunities for people to get involved. And so people want to feel like they're making an impact with their choices, whether that's with the food that they buy or like that, if they get to be involved with companies and different practices like that, that's something I'm sure that feels so rewarding, but allows them to feel like they're reconnected with their food, with the land, and also for whatever company is doing that, that's creating a connection, yeah, with your community.
Yeah.
And you brought up kind of another good point as well of the world, we are just in this crazy time where we are just so modernized. I mean, with availability to food, technology, obviously the world has never been like this. And we are just so modernized so quickly compared to like thousands of years before this. And so I don't think we can't just change everything and go back to what it was. And so things like Google or these really large companies or people that fly airplanes, right? Like we're only going to continue doing these things, and so we can't just necessarily stop modernizing. I mean, maybe in some
Mm-hmm.
capacity. And so it's then finding ways to maybe go other routes as well, where like, yeah, Google, right? There, everyone uses Google. So instead of being like, oh, you just can't exist anymore. Okay, what are some other ways
Yeah.
that you can get involved with other organizations that maybe help you? I don't want to say remove your impact, but yeah, like work on it in a different way.
Yeah. I'd be curious what Amazon does, because
Yeah,
like companies like Google and Amazon aren't going anywhere,
no, and I'm
because even no matter what they do, good or bad, or they could do something horrendous
mm-hmm.
and people are going to still use it
Yeah.
because guess what? Convenience, baby. Sure, we have morals, but man, when it comes to,
We're
we're
spoiled.
selfish. Like whatever makes life easier for us, we're going to choose convenience over our morals every single time.
Yeah.
Like, there might be some people stronger than me, but I'm never giving up Google and Amazon. Could Amazon use, like, people, maybe they're recycling boxes. That's why
Yeah.
I get big
I
boxes for small
recycle.
things all the time, is that they're like using their boxes over and over. But I'm like, did I need this big of a box
I know.
like for like my little sunscreen that I ordered from Amazon,
Yes.
you know? But so it is giving companies like that aren't going anywhere an opportunity to like give back
Yeah, because like you
in a way.
said, people, no matter what, I mean, there are some people, and especially involved in agriculture, maybe you don't always go the easiest route and things in other areas, but no matter what, the more easy and the more convenient and the more seamless something can be, that is the option that our population will choose. That is the route that it is
Yeah.
going to go. And so if Amazon, whatever comes up with that solution, or again, flights, I mean, if I can fly somewhere and be there in an hour versus driving 10 hours, probably going to do
Mm-hmm.
that. And that's just the nature of being human. So instead of constantly maybe trying to like fight against that, what can these big organizations do? Because farmers and ranchers, we're doing it. But again, we are directly involved with the land. So we have a little bit of a different perspective and
Yeah.
availability to do so.
Yeah. So we've shared our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I asked my audience what they thought about sustainability, and my friends just
If
ignored
y'all are
my question
listening,
box.
shame on you.
Shame on my friends. What the hell?
We needed
They're
some
probably like,
input.
oh my God. They're probably like, I can't believe Becca's still on this podcast 10 episodes later.
We're rocking
and
it, man.
she's
We're
still
having fun.
talking.
So y'all can either get
But
off on the
our
train or off.
our Cowgirl Talk audience and your Dairy Girl Fitness audience are much more loyal than my friends to question boxes.
Yes,
So,
shout out.
Emmy, what has our audience, aka your audience, shared with us?
Yes, hello, Cowgirl Talk audience, Your Girl Fitness audience. Y'all are the OGs. We love you. And Becca's friends are great too. They just don't participate as well. So I wanted to ask, what does sustainability mean to you? Just because, like Becca said at the beginning, it's very broad. It can mean a lot of different things. And so one of the words was longevity, which I love that word. And caring for what you're doing in the land while focusing on different practices. And then one of the other responses from actually Michelle from last week was able to continue successfully while caring for the well-being of different factors. And so she mentioned, like land, the cows, your farmers, even the finances, right? Focusing on a lot of different things and really marrying them together to make sure that they are all working in a very efficient way that, again, is helping us all continue, but making sure we're taking care of all the different factors that impact that. So I thought those were both great and
Yeah.
really tied in together to each other.
Yeah, I mean, that point that she made goes into the nuances of the word sustainability,
Yep. Yes.
right? So, like,
Yeah, it fit
a
the definition
sustainable
very well.
a sustainable business model is what we're doing going to manage our resources, our people, and um, like our operation in a way that's going to last.
Yep.
And that includes money, that includes land,
Yeah.
that includes animals, that includes people, that includes the ergonomics of things, the buildings. Like, it's I like that she brought the word sustainable as a holistic
Yep.
picture of things versus just like giving back
Yeah.
to
Or
the
like
earth,
taking
because
care of
it's
the
much
land.
that's a portion of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, I like that one.
And
What else you got? These next ones I'm reading ahead. I'm being that
cheater.
kind of student. But the one here
You have to read the question first.
oh yes, sorry. Is you asked how do you practice being more sustainable? So like Emmy was saying, not everybody can be a farmer who tends to the land.
Yeah, like, okay, I
to
can't go out and
crops and
milk a
animals,
cow.
right? But that doesn't mean we can't all do our part in some like
Mm-hmm.
things that are just super easy. One that is here is towels instead of paper towels.
We got 2 responses on that. I was like, yeah.
I'm trying to be better about how many
I
paper
know. I
towels
use so
use.
many paper towels.
Sorry.
We're bad.
But I've been getting blasted with papaya ads on social media.
I've not heard of
They're
them.
like they look like these cute little designed napkins with fun little
Mm-hmm.
designs on them that are meant to be in place of your paper towels and your
Mm.
towels. And it's basically like a sponge that looks like a washcloth.
Hmm.
And you hang them up in your kitchen so they're decorative and useful. So maybe I should
Oh,
try some, shout out papaya. Maybe I should try some papaya paper
they
towels.
got you.
Yeah, they did. They did. I have gotten better. I bought well, I accidentally bought these washcloths that I thought were bigger, like microfiber towels to
Mm,
put under things, like to have things dry after I wash
yeah.
them. But now I do use those washcloths whenever I am like doing a more intense cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe I'm getting a little bit
We're
better at that. But
trying.
what else have they, what else did they tell us?
A couple others were minimizing food waste and eating leftovers, which is huge. We talked about how cows do it, but seriously, people need to
I know.
also focus on minimizing food
It
waste.
just sounds so like whenever you think about it in the grand scheme of everything talked about, like, oh, I eat the food I made.
But yeah, people like
It's
don't
like
realize how much of an
people
impact that has.
hate
Yeah.
leftovers. People hate leftovers, and that's just so like whenever you just look at it from a bigger scale of like, ugh, I have to eat these leftovers instead of getting takeout. I do it too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so it feels kind of silly,
Yeah, because
but it's real.
convenience has ruined us in a
Yeah,
lot of
like
ways.
literally last night I said, no, I want a steak salad from Dino's instead of eating my butternut squash bake I have in the fridge.
Wow, Becca.
I know,
But yeah, so
but I'm going to eat it for lunch today.
there we go. But I think, yeah,
I just really wanted steak and fries on a salad
which are
last night.
good, and this is a good salad, so you're off the hook for this a little bit, maybe.
But yeah, that's a good one. I know it because it sounds so silly and easy, but like in the moment, food waste is so easy to accumulate.
Yeah, and I think that's what with all of these suggestions and well, not even suggestions, these are actual practices that y'all are implementing. They are they can be simple. You don't have to go out and feel like you are changing the world or like doing this big crazy movement. You can make these small personal decisions at home that can help, your footprint and what you're doing. So yeah, minimizing food waste, eating the food that you actually have in the fridge, stop throwing stuff away. And for anyone who's like, well, what about veggies and fruit? So if those things start to go bad or get weird, mushy, throw it in a smoothie. I love doing that with fruit or
Yeah.
spinach. So throw that stuff in a smoothie. And
Yeah, or buy frozen.
yeah,
Like
yes, good call.
if you can't eat produce in time,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to buy frozen. It really I promise you it is
Yes,
okay.
canned and frozen items are
It's
wonderful.
fine.
They are very often harvested at like the peak of their nutrition value. They're amazing and they minimize food waste. So I love that. Yeah, frozen canned items, things that can last a little bit longer can help you minimize your
Hmm.
food waste. And then again, yeah, eating the food that you have in your fridge. I can be a leftover girl. So I'm doing my part very well there. And speaking of food, there's a couple other that go on that is using reusable grocery bags. I have a lot in my closet and I just sometimes forget about them. So when I do use them, I feel like a superstar. And I know some companies or stores now also use more paper bags versus plastic
Hmm.
bags.
Keep them in your car.
I know, I need to. I get so much of my groceries delivered. So, but if I do
Yeah,
go,
I'm actually bad at this because I do a lot of pickups,
ah,
but I balance that out by I only buy what I need
yep,
and I waste less food. So I'm balancing it out,
we're
people. It's all
trying.
about balance.
And a few others were buy secondhand, using less plastic, which of course we love those. And we did get a response more tied into ag from one of our followers on Cowgirl Talk. Ashley said that they have digesters that make bedding from manure and renewable natural gas. And that
Hmm.
is just such a fun fact. And I know even some of our family members have methane digesters. I've been on other dairies that have it. And I'm sure maybe it's on other types of operation, but it's just pointing to the fact of what we talked about earlier of dairies and farmers and ranchers. And again, different production ag, how they're continuing to use some of the, I guess you could call it waste, and reusing
Hmm.
it and turning it into something else and that can be used in other ways.
Yeah, the power of poop is amazing.
Heck yeah, fertilizer,
The
gas, whatever else it may be used for.
Yeah. That's why if you're ever with a farm kid or an ag kid and you drive past a farm and you smell the poop, they go, smells like money.
Yeah. Yeah. So farmers are out here turning
Yeah.
poop into gas, into energy that can be used
Yeah.
by not just farms. Like there are a lot of farms that you reuse that then on the dairy or on the farm, but then it can be used in other industries and other places. So it's very, very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, people, I mean, some people are able to power their whole farm from the electricity, like right from gas, and then they can sell it back even to the grid. So maybe your house is,
Powered by poop.
your lights are on from, yeah, powered by poop. I think it is so cool that they're able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, talk about there are whole careers built around waste management,
Yep.
specifically in agriculture. So it's just taking a product that would otherwise sit in a lagoon and just stink. Um, it's powering your food, it's powering your grid. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, we got some of other people's favorite ways to be sustainable. I'm curious, what are some of the brands that you like or things that you like to do that you feel are doing your small parts?
Yeah. Well, again, we talked about food waste. I like to meal prep a lot. And so I do try to make sure that I'm eating what I
Mm-hmm.
cook and really trying to utilize whatever's in my fridge. And if not, again, I'll get frozen, I'll get canned. Also, I love that the townhouse we're in, they do recycling. And maybe I don't know exactly what it all gets turned into, but I am able to recycle. So any cardboard boxes, well, really anything we use, a lot of it, aluminum, plastic, we can recycle a lot of different types of garbage or boxes again, because with online ordering, we know there's lots of boxes. So I feel really good that I'm able to recycle. But I have my hydro jug, and I did have to buy this, but with things like hydrojug, this one's stainless steel specifically, but I take this everywhere with me, so I never have to, very rarely go out of my way to buy water or buy like plastic bottles, and so I really minimize on that. I even take a lot of these gym, airport. Again, you're just minimizing the amount of bottles and such that you're having to buy. So I love my little hydro jug, and I shop at Aldi very often, and I don't necessarily do it originally for the sustainability factor. TBH, I did it because it's cheaper. But I know they really try to minimize waste in terms of I don't think they have plastic bags. And even the way that
Mm-mm.
they store their food and sell it, it's not many individual packaged things. So, in terms of that, I think Aldi works, I'm sure, really hard in terms of reducing waste on that part. And I know for their bags and even Trader Joe's, they both use the paper bags, or if they don't have that, I've had my groceries delivered in boxes. So if they just have
Yeah.
leftover produce boxes, they'll use that to deliver your groceries.
Yeah. I mean, that's how Sam's Club
Oh,
is.
is it?
Like, yeah, you can't, well, that's probably just because people buy things in such
Yeah,
massive
they
bulk
they
that
have
they're
to get
like,
like a crate.
here's a bunch of our boxes we have left over, use them as your grocery bags. I think I love all of those. One other thing that we both share, and I was like, no, Emmy, this is
Yeah,
mine.
I was like,
This is
oh,
the only
Becca can take this one.
I want this one. Um is so buy, and I think clothes, like the way we buy clothes, and I'm so guilty of this,
Mm-hmm.
and I've gotten a lot better. Um is that there are just so many things we buy once and then they end up in a landfill. Even
Yeah.
if we donate them, like there's still just so many clothes that we don't need to buy that we buy.
Mm-hmm.
So something I've gotten much better at is that if it is something that I will only wear once, like a dress for a wedding, I will rent it. I
Yeah.
think Rent the Runway is such it's a fun way to get really really nice clothes and get
Mm-hmm.
to experience like new styles if you want to play around. So it's fun from that aspect, but it's also okay. This dress could get worn 1,000 times instead of 1,000 of them being bought and then rotting in a landfill someday.
Yeah.
So I feel a lot better about renting clothes that aren't staples in my closet. So in addition to Rent the Runway, which I've been using for years,
Mm-hmm.
is that I set a resolution for myself this year is that I'm still doing my anytime I buy something, I have to donate something
I like it.
thing, but I'm only buying things that I could wear 2 to 3 times in a week. And I could dress them up in different ways and no one would notice.
Nope.
So I'm buying closet staples only. And that's actually worked out really well. So it's been mostly like, okay, I need to replace a pair of sandals, like my business sandals I've had for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I can wear something like that. Or, oh, I need to replace this sweater that's finally dyed after a couple of years.
Yeah.
So that is how I'm trying, you know, I think that this also, Emmy and I were talking about it whenever we were like prepping these things that we do. She also brought up this idea of de-influencing, which I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, tell me what that is. And then I kind of had a realization of like, that's kind of what I'm doing to myself right now. But before I share that, Emmy, tell us what de-influencing is because
Mm-hmm.
you're much more up on the trends than I
My
am.
pleasure. Yeah, so y'all know we either do the weekly obsession or the weekly hot take, and we were going to do a weekly obsession kind of with the sustainable brands, which we talked about anyways, but I thought the hot take would be, and it would be helpful, but it would really relate to this conversation in
Mm-hmm.
de-influencing because we know that social media, I don't know a stat, but it has definitely made people buy more things and very often things that none of us actually need. And we really don't quote unquote need anything, but just buy and buy and buy because it's trendy or it's your favorite influencer posted it. And so we are just constantly being influenced to buy in literally a million different ways. We have TV, we have social media, we have magazines, there's billboards. You are being bombarded with ads all the time. But again, especially with social media now. And social media can be used in a lot of different great ways. And even for me, like I promote a service on social media, but there are the influencers now that are strictly just promoting like clothes or makeup or hair
Mm-hmm.
products. And I follow a lot of them. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but because of that, many of us are just buying so much shit we do not need. And even many influencers now, their whole brand is posting hauls every single week of new clothes they bought, new makeup, new hair stuff, or it's boxes they're being sent. I just was watching because Coachella is happening kind of right now, and Poppy, which I love Poppy, it's the soda brand, but they just created a whole house, or the house was already there, but they decked it out for Alex Earl, who's another influencer. This whole house for her and like four friends. This thing is decked out in so much stuff, like insane goodie bags, insane balloons, insane amounts of poppy, just so much stuff that not one person would need. And again, both brands, Alex Earl's cool. I love poppy, but it just goes to show there's just so much being wasted in influencer culture. And so more people now, like, sorry, I got on my high horse right there. But de-influencing culture now is really trying to audit what do you actually need. And there's been some accounts specifically for de-influencing just saying, hey, like helping with spending habits, helping with awareness, but maybe just reviewing products or reminding you that you don't actually need these things or trying to get out of the fast fashion side of things or things that are going to be trending out in a week or so and really just reminding people that you don't have to always be trendy. No one really cares that much about what you do or how you dress. Get staples. And if you do have a problem with it or you are buying too many things, you know, remove yourself from that situation, which, Becca, that's maybe kind of the personal realization you had.
Yeah. And I think, you know, there's other ways to, if you really like to express yourself through new clothes or things like that, think of like try renting
Yeah.
things,
Or
right? Before
thrifting.
you buy things. Yeah. Or thrifting, you know, like thinking of other ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, mine started with Money with Katie had like
Oh,
a
love
75
her.
day hard financial challenge. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And one of them was unfollowing accounts like every other week that make you spend money. And I was like, oh, got a lot of them. And there was really only one in particular that had influenced me to spend money. And I really loved her
And
product
this is
and
like
food
unnecessary
recommendations.
money or stuff you
Yeah.
don't need, really.
Yeah. The things that I didn't need were like the clothes and the makeup and the hair. Like I still have a shampoo and conditioner in there that she
Is
convinced
it
me to
Kevin
buy that like,
Murphy?
yeah, it did not, it like made my hair more oily. So now I need to find a friend who like that would work better for
Mm-hmm.
their hair. Um, and so I unfollowed her, but I was like, okay, so now because I know that what I really like and can use are her recipes.
Mm-hmm.
So now I just go to her website whenever I need
Smart.
a recipe inspo. But that was also whenever I was unfollowing her and like a bunch of other accounts that did a lot of makeup and clothes, is that okay, I have my good skincare routine. I have found my good hair products, and over the last couple of years have been better at just like buying the things that I use whenever they run out,
Mm-hmm.
and also buying less of the Amazon recommendations or the Abercrombie and Fitch
God,
recommendations
'cause
or
there's
all
so
these
many. It's all
things.
so cute.
There's so many that I have a list of the brands I shop from now whenever I need to replace a staple.
I like
And I
it.
use Rent the Runway when I need something that's more fun. So by unfollow, I guess I de-influenced my life
Yeah.
without even realizing I de-influenced my life. So that has, and another factor was honestly getting married, that my money was no, it was like my money is no longer only my
Yeah, it
money, in the
impacts other
sense that
people.
we're like paying for a dog, we're paying for an apartment, we're paying for a wedding. Like I had to reprioritize how I could
Mm-hmm.
save and spend my money on things only I wanted before, to now I'm entering into a new era of finances in life. So it's like all of these things happened at once and I de-influenced organically.
Way to go. And coming from my end, because people might be like, well, you're an influencer, Em. But when
Yeah.
I'm trying to promote things, it's really like, okay, health and fitness coaching, which is something that's going to benefit you for the longest time, but really only things that I truly, truly use and like very often. So maybe like supplements, or again, this water bottle that I literally have with me 24/7, and you don't need a million of them, or like a solid gym bag, whatever it may be. But I'm still tempted to jump into a lot of the gym wear launches or athleisure, because I was like affiliate with a brand a couple years ago, and the stuff is so cute. It's amazing. It's great. And I'm always tempted because they know what they're doing. This stuff is so cute, and I'm convinced that I need it. And there's nothing wrong with, getting these things or treating yourself. But instead of trying to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to buy something from every launch, what I do if I really like something, or I'm like, oh, you know what, maybe I want to get something from this launch, I let the launch happen, and then I'll check back in a couple days later or even a week later. And if it's still there, then I'll think again about buying it. But if it's already sold out, I don't need it. Again, a lot of these launches are so
Yeah.
fast, they sell out, which is good. Like, okay, they're minimizing waste there, but that's something that helps me. It's just waiting, just taking a step away. And
Yeah.
if this stuff is sold out, then that's a sign you don't need it. You will be
Yeah.
absolutely fine, because I'm sure we all have enough things. And again, no one maybe cares as much as we think about what we're doing, what we're wearing, or keeping up with the most current trends.
Yeah. I
Woo.
love it. Whew.
It's a good way to end on.
All right. It is. It's a good way to end on. I think that I hope that people will find this topic as fascinating and as jazzy as we do. Um, but yeah, this was so fun. I'm
And
glad we get to talk about things like this on this podcast, and it's a way for me to share my opinions on things that get me really fired up.
well, yeah, growing up in agriculture, it's exciting to talk about these things, and just we'll talk about it just because we enjoy it, but hopefully provide a new insight to other people who maybe don't have that direct connection to it. But I also love that we touched on, okay, yes, agriculture, but how you can make a direct impact personally
Yeah.
on your habits and your routines. And so if y'all have any tips and tricks on how you kind of practice sustainability on your operation, whether that's a farm or ranch or personally, we would love to hear that. Of course, always reach out to us on social media. We're on social media as Cowgirl Talk. And if you enjoyed the show, subscribe, like, leave a review, all of the things. We really do appreciate and love hearing feedback from y'all. Like Becca said, this is really just an amazing way for us to get to talk about the things we're passionate about. And hopefully it impacts others in a positive, or at least a neutral way, not a negative way. And so we really always do appreciate all the feedback from y'all. And yeah, thanks for tuning into this episode as always.
Yep. And have a great day, cowgirls.
Bye.
Bye.